The two words that can rewrite your destiny. Most people live their entire lives chasing the next secret technique. They repeat affirmations until their throats go dry. They write endless scripts in journals, trying to force the universe to notice them. They visualize every night until they fall asleep. Yet when they wake up, nothing truly changes. Carl Jung would tell you why. He'd say, "You're trying to change the picture without touching the film inside the camera. The image you project to the world is only a reflection of the unconscious blueprint running deep inside you. Change that blueprint, and reality has no choice but to obey." But here's the part almost no one talks about. There are two words, so ancient, so powerful, that they existed before language, before religion, before your name was ever spoken. These words are not just sounds. They are a vibration, the raw code of creation itself. Neville Goddard hinted at them in his final lectures, almost as if he knew the world wasn't ready for the full truth. And Jung understood their psychological voltage, the way they rewire the deepest layers of the mind. These two words are, I am. The moment you truly understand them, not just say them but realize them, you will stop chasing reality and start commanding it. You won't just live life anymore. You'll author it. Chapter 1. I am is not grammar, it's God in disguise. Most people treat I am like it's just grammar. Two small words, a sentence starter, a way to fill the space before you describe how you feel. I am hungry. I am tired. I am happy. Nothing special, right? Wrong. Neville Goddard once dropped a truth so heavy it can split your life into before and after. I am is the name of God. Not a metaphor, not poetry. He meant it literally. And if you understand this, you stop seeing I am as casual language. You start seeing it as the most powerful command you can ever give to reality. Carl Jung would translate Neville's mystical insight into the language of psychology. I am is not the voice of your ego, not your fleeting moods, not your roles or labels. It's the voice of the self, the eternal, unshakable center of your psyche, the part of you that existed before your first breath and will remain after your last. This self is your divine core. It's the part of you that doesn't break when life falls apart. The part that doesn't need approval, permission, or validation to exist. Here's the tragedy. Most people never meet this self. They live their entire lives inside an illusion of separation. They imagine God as someone out there, a distant ruler in the clouds, watching, judging, maybe helping, maybe not. Jung called this projection when you hand over your own inner divinity to something outside yourself. You place the throne of your power in someone else's hands, and when you do that, you become a beggar to life instead of its architect. Every time you casually say, I am tired, I am unlucky, I am not good enough, you're not just describing your mood. You are writing code into your unconscious mind. This is the language of the archetype, the invisible blueprint inside you that determines how life responds to you. Your I am statements are like instructions to the architect of your reality. The universe isn't responding to your wish list, it's responding to your identity. You can say you want success, but if your I am is I am broke, life will match that frequency. You can pray for love, but if your inner truth is I am unworthy, you'll sabotage every good thing before it reaches you. Because here's the law Jung and Neville both understood. The world does not give you what you want, it gives you what you are, and I am is the doorway to that being. Every I am is a seed. If you plant weeds, don't expect roses. If you plant lack, don't expect abundance. If you plant unworthiness, don't expect love that stays. But if you plant I am worthy, I am love, I am abundance, your unconscious mind begins to shift, your actions begin to align, and reality has no choice but to reflect that truth back to you. The tragedy is that most people speak I am in autopilot, without realizing they're signing spiritual contracts with every sentence. But the beauty, the moment you realize this and you can start rewriting them, and once you master it, I am stops being grammar. It becomes God in disguise, your direct line to creation itself. Chapter 2. Stillness. The door to the self. Carl Jung once said, "The self is your original face before the world told you who to be." Pause for a moment and let that sink in. Before heartbreak bent your back, before failures carved doubt into your bones, before the opinions of strangers started weighing more than your own voice, before you learned to shrink yourself just to fit into a box you were never meant to fit in, there was a you that was whole, a you that was fearless, a you that was limitless. That self didn't need validation. That self didn't seek permission to exist. That self didn't carry the chains of comparison, jealousy, or fear. It simply knew. But here's the hidden truth they don't teach you. That self never truly disappeared. It didn't die. It's just buried, under layers of noise. Noise from the outside world, the expectations of family, the criticism of peers, the silent pressure of comparison in an endless scroll of perfect pictures and perfect lives. Noise from the inside, the whispers of doubt that say you're not enough, the shadows of fear that warn, don't try, you'll fail. The heavy self-talk that slowly erases the memory of who you were before the world got to you. In this constant chaos, you start to forget your own reflection. You confuse the mask with the face. You start believing the roles you play are who you are. And here's the paradox. To meet yourself again, you don't need to add more. You don't need more books, more podcasts, more affirmations, more rituals. You remove, you strip away, layer by layer. No music to set the mood. No desperate affirmations trying to patch the cracks in your soul. No prayers spoken from a place of lack, begging the heavens to fix what you already are. Instead, you stop, you breathe, you close your eyes, and you drop into stillness. In that space, you don't say, "I am successful." "I am healed. I am loved." You say, not with your mouth, but with the voice that existed before language, just, "I am." Because in that moment, you're not building a new identity. You're stepping back into the eternal identity that has been waiting for you since the beginning of time. That stillness you feel, that is not emptiness. It is not the absence of life. It is the foundation of it. It is the unconditioned self, untouched by your past, untouched by your pain, untouched by the ticking clock. The clock that keeps telling you you're running out of time. Neville Goddard called this state the foundation of all creation. Because creation doesn't start with action, it starts with being. Carl Jung called it individuation, the sacred journey of becoming whole, by bringing the divine center of your being into your waking life. This is not self-improvement. This is self-return. And here's the secret almost everyone misses. When you touch this stillness, you stop chasing. You stop trying to attract. You become the very thing you once thought was running away from you. The universe doesn't run toward noise. It bows to stillness. It recognizes presence. It bends for the one who has remembered their self. And in that moment, reality stops feeling like something out there you're trying to grab. It becomes something in here, an extension of you. You don't live in the world. The world begins to live in you, an extension of you. Chapter 3. The Law. Only attach truth to I am. There are two words in the human language that carry more weight than any crown, any weapon, or any fortune. Two words that have been whispered by prophets, guarded by mystics, and feared by kings. Two words so small you say them every day without thinking, yet so powerful they are quietly writing your destiny behind your back. I am. Once you've touched the self, the raw, unshaken core of who you are, something inside you changes forever. You realize words are no longer just words. They are not harmless, they are not casual, they are laws. And the unconscious mind, the silent engine that drives 95% of your thoughts, feelings, and actions, is a ruthless lawyer. It does not interpret. It does not joke. It does not wait and see. It simply obeys. Say, "I am tired," and your body will start conserving energy. Say, "I am unlucky," and life will begin assembling proof to keep you right. Say, "I am broke," and you will start rejecting opportunities without even realizing it. Carl Jung warned us, the unconscious doesn't speak in logic, it speaks in symbols. And I am is the most sacred symbol of all. When you speak those words, it's as if you've stamped a royal decree onto the parchment of your soul, and your mind will fight to keep it true, even if it destroys you in the process. That's why "I want wealth" will never make you wealthy. You've told the mind, "I do not have it." "I hope for love" will never bring you love. You've declared, "I am unloved." The universe doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you are. And here's the catch. You don't become what you say you want. You become what you believe you already are. If you want change, you don't speak in terms of desire. You speak in terms of identity. Not "I want abundance," but "I am abundance." Not "I wish for freedom," but "I am free." Not "I'm looking for love," but "I am love." This isn't arrogance. This isn't denial of your current circumstances. This is alignment, the decision to plant the seed of the reality you choose to live in. Most people think reality creates identity. Jung and the mystics before him taught the opposite. Identity creates reality. The moment you say "I am" and attach a truth to it, your unconscious mind rewires itself to match that identity. And because the mind and the outer world are reflections of each other, life begins to shift in ways you can't predict. You are not begging the world to listen to you. You are commanding your deepest self to transform. And when the self changes, reality is left with no choice but to adjust itself around you. This is not fake it till you make it. This is be it until the world has no choice but to reflect it. So tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you talk to anyone, before you even step out of bed, ask yourself, what law am I attaching to my "I am" today? Because every "I am" is a seed. And seeds don't care whether you plant flowers or weeds. They just grow. Guard your "I am" like a king guards his crown. Speak it like a prophet delivering truth, and repeat it until every cell in your body believes. Because the moment your unconscious accepts it, the rest of reality falls in line. Chapter 4. Live like the word has already been spoken. Neville Goddard said, "God became man so man may become God." Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Two different men, two different worlds. And yet, they were pointing to the same mountain. A place where the human and the divine are no longer separate. Here's the truth most people miss. Once "I am" is spoken in stillness, the creation is already complete. The seed has been planted. The blueprint is drawn. The invisible machinery of life has already been set in motion. But here's where most people kill the process. They keep digging up the seed to check if it's growing. They beg for signs. They check the mirror every morning to see if they've become it yet. They refresh the bank app to see if the money has shown up. They look at the clock, the calendar, the world outside, searching for proof. What they don't realize is that this search is proof. Proof that they still believe it isn't here. Neville called this disloyalty to the unseen reality. Jung would say it's the ego's addiction to control, the inability to rest in the self's knowing. If your "I am" was truly spoken from the core of your being, you would not need confirmation. You would move through the world as if it was already fact. And that's the key. You must walk as the embodiment of the reality you claimed. Not as a hopeful applicant, not as someone waiting for permission, but as the living proof. This is not pretending. It's not fake it till you make it. It's faith, the unshakable loyalty to a reality the senses cannot yet see. Faith is not waiting for the world to agree with you. Faith is knowing the world will catch up. When you declare "I am" in stillness, something irreversible happens inside you. The self has spoken, the universe has heard, and the reality you named is now alive in the unseen. Your only job is to live in alignment with it, to act, speak, and carry yourself like the word has already been spoken, because it has. Jung believed this is where individuation becomes real. It's the point where you stop negotiating with your potential and start inhabiting it, where you no longer seek signs because you are the sign. The healed man doesn't ask for proof of healing. He lives healed. The wealthy woman doesn't check if she feels rich today. She moves as wealth. The loved soul doesn't wait for validation. They radiate love. Every time you question it, you step out of alignment. Every time you doubt it, you return to the old identity. But every time you walk in it, even when there's no evidence, You are pulling the unseen into the seen. So live like the word has already been spoken. Because in the language of the self, it already has. Chapter 5. The Archetype of the Creator. Carl Jung taught that within every human being lives a gallery of archetypes, timeless universal forces that silently influence the way you think, feel, speak, and act. They are not just roles you play, they are ancient patterns in the collective unconscious, the deep software running beneath your individual personality. Some people live most of their lives under the victim archetype, constantly feeling powerless, blaming fate, luck, or other people for their suffering. Others are trapped in the orphan archetype, abandoned by life in their own eyes, carrying a silent wound that makes them believe they must survive without ever truly belonging. And when you live from these archetypes, you unconsciously wait for life to happen to you. You wait for a rescuer. You wait for permission. You wait for circumstances to change before you do. But something extraordinary happens the moment you say, "I am," with awareness, not as empty words, but as a conscious declaration. You awaken the Creator archetype. The Creator doesn't ask, "Why me?" The Creator declares, "Watch me." The Creator doesn't wait for life to choose them. They choose life. They don't sit around hoping for a sign. They become the sign. From this place, even the smallest thought, the tiniest decision, carries the same sacred creative force that once said, "Let there be light." Neville Goddard would say, "This is the moment man stops begging and starts embodying God's nature." Jung would say it's when you integrate the self so deeply that the unconscious and conscious mind work together as one. And here's the power in this. Once the Creator archetype is awake, you stop thinking of reality as something you react to. You start seeing it as clay in your hands. Your words shape it. Your imagination paints it. Your faith solidifies it. But the Creator archetype is not born from force. It's born from stillness, awareness, and identity. When you say, "I am abundance," you're not just making an affirmation. You're issuing a command to the very framework of reality. When you say, "I am love," you're not describing a feeling. You're activating the frequency that attracts and multiplies love. This is why every spiritual tradition, in its own way, protects the sanctity of words. Because the Creator doesn't try to create. The Creator is creation. And the moment you awaken this archetype, the question shifts from "Can I?" to "How will I?" From "Will it work?" to "It is done." The world bends differently for the Creator, not because they have more luck, but because they finally realized they were the source all along. Chapter 6. Walking as the word Neville said, God became man so that man may become God. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Two men, two worlds, one truth. They were both pointing to the same final stage of transformation, the moment when knowing is not enough. You must become. When you've declared "I am" in stillness, not as an affirmation, but as the deepest recognition of yourself, the creation is complete. The seed is planted. The unseen has been spoken into existence. The blueprint is alive. From that moment on, your job is simple, but not easy. You must walk as the Word. That means you stop looking for proof, because you are the proof. You stop asking if it's working, because the moment you asked, you stepped out of faith and back into doubt. You stop refreshing your bank account or scanning the horizon for signs, measuring progress against a clock the universe doesn't use. Neville called this loyalty to the unseen reality. Jung would frame it as integrity between your conscious and unconscious mind. No split, no contradiction, no betrayal. If your inner world has accepted the identity, your outer world will have no choice but to obey. But the instant you let doubt rewrite your "I am," you've broken the contract. Walking as the Word is not pretending. It's not "fake it till you make it." It's living in alignment with the truth you have already declared. The healed man doesn't check his wound every morning to see if it's closed. The wealthy woman doesn't need to feel rich to know she is. The loved soul doesn't wait for someone to say, "I love you," to believe it. Reality bends to the identity you've claimed, but only if you stop betraying it with doubt. Every thought, every movement, every decision is either an agreement with your I am or an act of self-sabotage. So walk as if the word has already been spoken, because in the language of the self, it has. Chapter 7. Individuation through I am. Carl Jung said that the ultimate goal of human life is individuation, the sacred journey of integrating every lost, hidden, rejected, and wounded part of yourself back into wholeness. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about finally becoming yourself. The self that existed before the masks, before the wounds, before the compromises. Individuation is not instant. It's not something you read about and get. It is a deep alchemical process. Every part of you that you've pushed into the shadows is invited back into the light. The abandoned child you've tried to forget. The warrior you silenced to keep the peace. The lover you buried after heartbreak. The dreamer you mocked for being unrealistic. They're all still inside you, waiting. Here's where I am becomes more than just creation. It becomes integration. Each conscious I am statement is not just a declaration to the universe. It's a bridge back to yourself. When you say I am enough, you are holding the hand of the abandoned child within you and whispering the words they needed to hear decades ago. When you say I am strong, you are freeing the repressed warrior who once wanted to fight for you but was told to stand down. When you say I am love, you are unlocking the door where you locked away the purest, most vulnerable part of your heart after someone broke it. Jung taught that every disowned part of you lives in the unconscious as a fragment, a piece of your soul frozen in time. And here's the power. When you speak I am in stillness and awareness, those fragments recognize your voice. They start walking back toward you. They start merging into your present self. They stop haunting you from the shadows and begin serving you in the light. This is why I am is not about ego inflation. It's not about pretending to be more than you are. It's about becoming whole. When all your inner fragments finally come home, you stop feeling like you're fighting yourself. You stop sabotaging your own desires. Your inner world aligns. And when that happens, your outer world has no choice but to follow. Through I am, you're not just changing your life. You're restoring the kingdom of your soul. You're reclaiming the throne of your own being. And the day you complete this integration, you'll understand what Jung meant when he said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Chapter 9. Destroying the false I am. Before you can live your highest I am, you must confront a truth that is as uncomfortable as it is liberating. Your life right now is not built on who you truly are. It's built on who you were told you are. Some of your I am statements were never yours to begin with. They were given to you, or rather forced onto you. I am unworthy. Born from a parent's coldness, neglect, or criticism. I am weak. Formed from a lifetime of setbacks, rejections, and failures that made you believe you couldn't stand on your own feet. I am unwanted. Carved into you by abandonment, betrayal, or the quiet ache of being invisible in the rooms that should have celebrated you. Carl Jung had a name for these complexes, not just passing thoughts or moods, but clusters of memory, emotion, and meaning, tightly bound together in the unconscious, running like secret programs. A complex doesn't just sit quietly. It hijacks your reactions. It chooses your relationships. It sabotages your dreams before you even take the first step. And here's the painful part. When you live under a false I am, you don't even realize it's false. It feels like you, it speaks in your voice, it moves through your body. It convinces you that its fear is your wisdom, its limits are your reality. Facing these false I am statements feels like death, and in a way it is. But it's the death of the lie, not the death of you. It's the funeral of the mask you've been wearing for decades. It's the burial of the chains you didn't even realize were cutting into your skin. This destruction is not gentle. Jung warned that confronting a complex can feel like going to war with yourself, because the false I am will fight to survive. It will whisper, "Don't go there." It will try to convince you that you're safer staying small, predictable and broken in familiar ways. But once you see the lie for what it is, you can't unsee it. Neville Goddard would say that destroying the false I am is the first act of creation, because you cannot build the palace of your true self on the ruins of an old prison without first clearing the rubble. And the moment you dismantle a false I am, something incredible happens. The energy it was using to hold you down is suddenly free to lift you up. You begin to remember the original I am that existed before fear, before shame, before conditioning. The I am that is whole. The I am that is free. The I am that is limitless. Destroying the false is not an end. It's the doorway back to the truth. Chapter 10. The Magnetic Field of Being. When you repeat I am with conviction, not as a wish, not as a half-hearted affirmation, but as an unshakable truth, something begins to shift in ways you can feel but not yet explain. It's as if the air around you changes. Your presence feels heavier yet lighter, calmer yet more commanding. You've just generated what Carl Jung called the unus mundus, the unified field of reality where the inner world and the outer world dance as one. In this space, your thoughts are not private. Your feelings are not invisible. They radiate outward like ripples in a still lake. Every I am is like a stone dropped into that water, sending waves in all directions. Neville Goddard would say that your I am becomes the vibration of your being, and life is compelled to match it. This is where synchronicities start to appear. Opportunities arrive in perfect timing. A book falls open with the words you needed. Someone calls you just as you were thinking about them. Doors open without knocking. From the outside, it looks like luck. From the inside, you know better. This is the field responding to your identity. People feel drawn to you and can't explain why. They sense something in your tone, your posture, your eyes. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. They're responding to the frequency of certainty, the quiet power of someone who knows who they are. In this state, you're no longer chasing. You're attracting it, and not in a desperate, grasping way, but in the same way gravity pulls planets into orbit. Your being has become a magnet. Jung believed that when the inner and outer worlds unify, the psyche enters a state where cause and effect are no longer the only rules. Meaning becomes the organizing principle. Neville would call it living in the end. Science would call it resonance. You just experience it. Here's the catch. This field doesn't respond to what you wish you were. It responds to what you are. If your I am is fractured by doubt, the signal is weak. If your I am is steady, it becomes undeniable. The magnetic field of being isn't built in one moment. It's built in every moment you choose to remain loyal to the identity you've claimed. It's built every time you act, speak, and move as if it's already done. And when it's strong enough, life stops resisting you. It starts rearranging itself around you. Not because you're lucky, but because you've become the kind of person life can't say no to. Chapter 11. Becoming the Living I Am. There comes a point in this journey when I am is no longer something you say, it's something you are. You don't just repeat the words, you embody them in every breath, every gesture, every decision. Carl Jung would call this the union of the conscious and the unconscious. Neville Goddard would call it the word made flesh. It's the moment you realize you are no longer practicing the identity, you are living it. But to reach this point, something had to die. The old self, the one built on fear, trauma, doubt, had to be laid to rest. You stopped giving energy to the false I ams that once ran your life like a dictator. You faced the shadows, dismantled the lies, and stood naked in the truth. It felt like loss at first, but it was liberation. The death of who you were is the birth of who you were meant to be. Now you walk with a different energy. You no longer try to manifest. You simply live from the truth that it is already done. You've stopped asking, when will it come? Because you know you're already standing in it. The outer world becomes nothing more than a delayed mirror of your inner state. And when you look into that mirror, it keeps confirming what you've been saying all along. I am. This alignment creates a presence that's impossible to fake. People feel it before you speak. They trust you without knowing why. They sense certainty in your posture, power in your calmness, and depth in your silence. You're not performing for approval anymore. You're radiating identity. The magnetic field of your being pulls the right people, opportunities, and events into your orbit without chasing. Here's the irony. The moment you stop chasing, things start finding you. When you lived in the old I am, you were running toward everything, desperate to catch it. Now you stand still in power, and everything runs toward you. This is not laziness, it's alignment. You're no longer trying to force reality, you're letting it respond to the frequency you're holding. Doubt was the old language. Now, it's foreign to you. You don't entertain it because you understand it's the fastest way to betray your new identity. Every time your mind tries to pull you back into the old I am, you stand firm. No, I've spoken the word. And the word is final. You've stopped looking for signs because you are the sign. Every action you take, every decision you make, is evidence of the truth you've claimed. The healed person doesn't check if the wound is gone. They live healed. The wealthy don't check if they feel rich. They move as wealth. The loved don't ask for validation. They radiate love. You've become living, breathing proof of the I am you declared. At this level, I am is no longer a tool. It's your nature. It's not something you have to remember to say. It's the very air you breathe. You've returned to the original self that existed before the noise, before the lies, before the fear. And in that space, there's nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove, only to express. Because once you live as the I am, you're not trying to create reality anymore. You are reality. Final challenge. Your I am initiation. This is it. The moment where theory ends and embodiment begins. Everything you've read, felt, and realized in this journey comes down to this single decision. Will you live as the I am you've claimed, or will you slip back into the comfort of the old self? Carl Jung would call this a rite of passage. Neville Goddard would call it the assumption made permanent. Whatever you name it, the initiation begins now, and it's not for the faint-hearted. Up until now, you've explored I am as an idea, a practice, a declaration. But initiation means there is no practice anymore. There is only living it. From this moment forward, every breath, every word, every action must be aligned with the truth you have spoken in stillness. No fallback to doubt. No testing the waters. No maybe. This is the burning of the ships, the point of no return, where the old identity is not just abandoned, it is destroyed. To pass this initiation, you must understand, the old self will not vanish quietly. It will try to pull you back with familiar fears, old stories, and seductive whispers of be realistic. It will remind you of your past failures, tempt you with the comfort of smallness, and demand proof before faith. But the I am warrior does not negotiate with ghosts. The new identity must be protected like a sacred flame, because in the early days, even a small wind of doubt can snuff it out. This is why discipline matters. Not the discipline of force, but the discipline of loyalty. You must choose your thoughts as carefully as you would choose the words you carve on your own gravestone. You must move as if the camera is always rolling, as if the universe is watching for your consistency before releasing the next level of your life. The field, the unus mundus, responds only to certainty. The moment you betray your new I am, the signal weakens. So the challenge is not just to say I am, but to guard it. Protect it from careless speech. Shield it from the projections of others. Refuse to let environments, conversations, or habits that contradict your I am have space in your life. If you've claimed I am wealth, then every action must be wealth conscious. If you've claimed I am love, then every interaction must radiate love, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. And here's the paradox. The moment you fully live as the I am, the world begins to test you with situations that appear to prove you wrong. This is not punishment, it's confirmation. The field is asking, will you hold the frequency even when the picture hasn't changed yet? Most people fail here. They confuse temporary appearances with truth. But the initiated know, reality is a delayed mirror. Your job is to keep the reflection steady until the glass catches up. Once you cross this threshold, something irreversible happens. You no longer chase results, no, they start chasing you. People will call it charisma, luck, divine favor. But you will know it's the magnetic field of being, now anchored so deeply, it cannot be shaken. The old doubts dissolve not because life has gotten easier, but because your identity no longer has a place for them. You have become the living embodiment of the self Jung spoke of, whole, integrated, untouchable. So here's your initiation. Choose your I am now. Speak it once from the deepest core of your being. Write it where you will see it daily. Repeat it until it becomes the only language your mind knows. And then, Live it without compromise for the next 30 days. No doubt, no contradiction, no retreat. Because the moment your unconscious accepts it, the universe bends to obey it. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of your reign. Chapter 13. The Unshakable Throne of I Am. Reaching this stage means you've crossed a threshold most never even approach. You've burned the old scripts. You've buried the false identities. Now, you sit on the throne of your own being, not as a ruler desperate for control, but as a sovereign whose very presence shapes reality. Carl Jung would call this the self-enthroned. Neville Goddard would say you have become the word in motion. Whatever the name, this is where power becomes peace. The unshakable throne is not built on titles, possessions, or applause. It's built on the inner knowing that nothing outside you can confirm or cancel who you are. People may question you, challenge you, even reject you, but they cannot touch the truth you have anchored. When you live from this seat, their doubt becomes background noise. The field you've generated is too strong to be swayed by opinions, circumstances, or temporary storms. This is the level where I am no longer feels like something you hold on to. It feels like something that holds on to you. It becomes the spine of your existence, the quiet pulse beneath every word and action. You can walk into chaos and remain still inside. You can face loss without losing yourself. You can be surrounded by noise and hear only the clear, steady voice of your own self. This is not arrogance. It is the deepest form of security. And here's the truth. Once you sit on this throne, tests don't stop. They just change. Life no longer tests your belief in small things like money, relationships, or opportunities. It starts testing your loyalty to your essence. Will you abandon your I am to please others? Will you dilute your frequency to fit in? Or will you stay unmoved, even when it costs you the comfort of the crowd? This is the proving ground of the unshakable. From this seat, creation becomes effortless. You no longer manifest with strain or obsession. You speak less, but every word carries weight. You act less, but every action hits with precision. You no longer scatter your energy in 100 directions. You move with the focus of a blade. And because the field around you is stable, reality responds with a precision that feels almost supernatural. Doors open before you even knock. But with this level of power comes responsibility. You must guard your I am not only for your sake, but because your vibration now influences everyone who enters your presence. The insecure will feel threatened, the aligned will feel inspired, the wounded will feel a call to heal. Without saying a word, you have become a living mirror, and what people see in you will awaken something in them, for better or worse. Carl Jung warned that power without consciousness becomes shadow. That's why the throne demands humility. Not the false humility of shrinking yourself, but the real humility of knowing this power is not yours. It flows through you. Neville would say, you are not the source, you are the vessel. The moment you think you own the throne, you've already stepped down from it. The unshakable remains unshakable because it never forgets its source. And so you sit, not waiting, not chasing, simply being. This is the throne of the I am fully realized. You've passed the tests, burned the old scripts, and anchored the new identity so deeply that even time bows to it. From here, creation is no longer a goal. It is the natural overflow of your being. You are not trying to live your truth anymore. You are the truth. And the world, whether it knows it or not, now moves in your orbit. Chapter 14. The Eternal Echo of I Am. At this stage, the journey no longer feels like a path you're walking. It feels like an echo that stretches beyond time. Your I am is not just affecting today's reality. It's shaping the unseen corridors of your future, touching lives you haven't even met yet. Carl Jung would call this the ripple of the individuated self in the collective unconscious. Neville Goddard would say your assumption has entered the eternal present. Every thought, every word, every action now carries undeniable. A legacy. When you speak I am with conviction, the energy doesn't fade when the words stop. It lingers. It moves through conversations you're not in, through places you've never been, influencing outcomes you may never witness. You've become more than a participant in life. You've become an architect whose blueprints are drawn in vibration, not ink. The field you've built now operates even when you're asleep. This is where the mastery deepens. You no longer speak "I am" for results. You speak it because it's who you are. There's no rush, no urgency, no checking the clock. You've dissolved the illusion of waiting because you understand that reality is already yours in the unseen. Your role is to remain in harmony with it, allowing time to be the slow translator of a truth already written. Patience isn't passive here. It's the purest form of power. The eternal echo also means your "I am" survives challenges untouched. Storms may come, losses may occur, people may leave, but the core remains. You've seen enough proof to know that outer events are just ripples on the surface, while the ocean beneath is unchanged. This is where your being becomes weatherproof, and the irony, the less you need reality to confirm your "I am", the faster it confirms it. Detachment has now become your silent ally. From here, your influence begins to extend in ways that surprise you. Strangers feel lighter after talking to you, even if you never spoke about "I am". Friends find clarity just by sitting in your presence. Opportunities arrive through people you've never met, because the field you've generated has begun working as its own messenger. You've become living evidence that reality bends for the one who bends for no illusion. Your frequency is now your introduction, but this stage also carries a sacred responsibility to keep your "I am" pure. The more powerful the echo, the more damaging it is if corrupted by fear, greed, or ego. Jung warned that unexamined power can amplify the shadow instead of the self. That's why awareness must remain sharp. You are now a lighthouse, and a lighthouse must remain steady, especially in the storm, because others are navigating by your light without even telling you. Neville Goddard would remind you that the eternal echo works both ways. Speak carelessly, and you plant weeds just as easily as roses. Every "I am" you release is an instruction to the universe, a decree that will find its way back to you. So you guard it, not out of fear but out of devotion. Each statement becomes a sacred act, each repetition a bell tolling across the unseen, reminding all of reality who you are. And so the echo continues, across moments, across lifetimes, across worlds you cannot yet see. You no longer wonder if your "I am" works. You know it's already moving. You are not chasing evidence, evidence is chasing you. This is the eternal state of the realized self, where "I am" is not an affirmation, but the very fabric of your existence. And as long as you breathe, the echo will grow, until it becomes the song the universe sings back to you. Final message. You're called to step into the "I am". You've walked through every layer, from discovering the self, to destroying the false identities, to sitting on the throne of your own being. Now the question is simple. Will you live this, or will you leave it as just words you once read? This is your moment. Choose one "I am", the one that calls to you the loudest, the one that feels like truth, even if it scares you. Speak it out loud. Write it where you'll see it every day. And for the next 30 days, live as if there is no other version of you but this one. Guard it like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Speak it in your silence, in your movement, in your choices. Let it decide how you walk into rooms, how you speak to others, how you speak to yourself. And here's the promise. If you stay loyal to it without compromise, without falling back into doubt, you will not have to chase transformation. It will chase you. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Neville Goddard said, "Assume it, feel it, and it will be so." Now it's your turn to live it. So, what is your "I am"? Speak it, own it, become it.